much to contrary to popular belief, that's what I was trying to say. Contrary to popular belief, it's not always easy to talk about yourself, is it? Even for me. Hello and welcome to the world of Craig. Yes, that's me, I'm Craig, and this is my channel where we get into everything hair and sometimes, just sometimes, a little bit of beauty. So, it's been a while since I have done an Ask Me Anything tag. In fact, I think I've only done it once here on my YouTube. So let's get into that. Gulp. Very briefly, a tiny little bit of housekeeping. If you're new here and you're coming here for the first time, hello, and if you're coming back because you subscribe to my channel, thank you very much. Just to mention that if you enjoy this video and you find it helpful, I'm going to be talking about a mixture of personal Ask Me Anythings, gulp, and always not so easy to talk about yourself, even for me, and some hair questions as well. But if you want to see what's coming here on my channel and you want to make sure that you get notifications, then if you subscribe, if you choose to, only if you choose to, there's no pressure, then make sure you hit that bell because then you'll see everything that's coming on my channel. The questions that I'm about to answer, I'll put them up on the screen as I go through them, and they're a mixture of from a sticker in my Instagram stories, and also I made a post on my Instagram, which is on screen now, full of loads of hair stuff, a little bit of beauty, and obviously my day-to-day. I posted on there, like a regular Sunday post, and I asked for questions. So these are going to be a mixture of my Instagram stories and my Instagram, like a main post on my grid. Okay, enough waffling, let's get on with those questions. Now, first up is a question from the lovely Fiona and also from the fabulous Megan. I'm going to pop the questions on the screen, and this is a question I've had time and time again from asking you for questions. And thank you very much to everybody that gets to see this, that did send me a question. I really appreciate it, because without the questions, there wouldn't be a video. And sometimes it's tricky because we're always asking you for engagement as viewers of our content. So thank you very much. But the first question is, did I always want to be a hairdresser? And the easy, short answer to that is yes. I've wanted to be in hair since the age of 4 years old. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she passed away about 10 years ago now, always used to tell people the story of me being about 4 years old, dragging my teddy bears around the house and telling everybody that when I was grown up, I was going to be a hairdresser. And that's true. I've always wanted to do hair. There have been other things, which I will get to in another question, but I've always wanted to do hair. I think it partly comes from, my mother was a very glamorous woman, and I was born in the 70s, so it was the time of disco and big hair and lots of makeup, and my mother would always sit there every day and do her makeup and style her hair. She had tons and tons and tons of really sort of thick, slightly textured, I'm a hairdresser, slightly textured wavy hair. And she always used to put Carmen rollers in it, or she'd blow dry it, and she had different hairstyles. She had lots of perms. One of my sort of earliest memories is being taken to the salon where my mum got her hair done. So I think all of that, the kind of glamour of it, the technical side of watching my mum have her hair done, and also kind of being young and playing with dolls, having teddy bears. I was never a kid that played outside. I was always the kid that would be inside making something or doing something. But the answer to the question is, from when I was about 4 years old, I've always wanted to do hair. Next up, another personal question. Yes, I recently turned 50, and there isn't a really long answer to this. I really like being 50. I'm really into it. I've really enjoyed getting older, if I'm honest. I spent a lot of my sort of teens and 20s being quite angst and not feeling very good about myself, not having very high self-esteem. I then had my own salon throughout my 30s until I was 39, for 10 years, from 29 to 39. So then I was so busy, I didn't really have much time to think about myself. I did have a relationship for part of that time, but most of my energy, if not all of my energy, was put into the running of the salon and to making it a success. So between 40 and 50, I can't believe I'm 50, but I'm into it. Between 40 and 50 were really spent on, changing my career, doing the things that I wanted to do, finding out more about myself and about who I am. So it might sound trite or a bit, yeah, it might sound a bit trite, and that it's kind of like, oh, I love being 50, I love being 50, but it is the truth. I really enjoy being older. I like the fact that you care less about what others think. I talk about that a lot on my Instagram and on here from time to time. You know, caring less about what other people think of you is incredibly empowering, and I quite like the number 50. I think it's, you know, I'm just, yeah. So I'm embracing it, and for me, 50 is good. I know a lot of people can battle with getting older, and that's really hard. I'm very grateful that that I feel like I look good for my age. So yeah, 50 is good. I'm here for 50. Let's have a hair colour question, and that is, do I use much permanent colour? It's a great question, thank you very much. I don't use loads of permanent colour. I guess the answer for the question is that I use permanent colour where it's appropriate. I have a very wide client base in age, a very big varying age range, from like 20, even younger than that, to up to 90. And I would say that when I use permanent colour, when somebody wants to 100% cover their grey. My preference would be for a demi-permanent colour with enough energy to blend and to cover grey. So I use a lot of colour touch with the intensive developer at the moment. I use a few bits and pieces of other things, but that would be my go-to to start off with before I then went on to permanent colour. If I use myself as an example, when my hair isn't bleached, I will blend the grey away, but I will use a liquid demi-permanent colour that blends the grey but doesn't cover 100%. So it really is about what the client wants, number one. If they don't want to see any grey, then I would always go for permanent colour, always, always, always. If they're like, no, I hate my grey. But the majority of my clients who are around my age, who have some grey blended or covered, I would use a demi. And as I've already mentioned, the ones that really don't want to see grey, I would use a permanent. So the lovely Tom, who's a bit of a candle fan as well, Mr. TM, Tom Montgomery, fantastic illustrator, asked me what my top 3 candles were. So I had to put these in, obviously, to break up the personal and the hair questions. So we'll race through these quickly. By Redo's Saffron, there you go, so gorgeous. Smells spicy, smoky. This has been on the side, but it's normally something I would burn in the winter. It's the most beautiful scent. It really is. I love all of the By Redo. I'm kind of quite sure how you pronounce that. This is going to be a pronunciation black hole. I love the whole line. I wear their scents as well. I've just bought myself De Los Santos, which is gorgeous, but such a beautiful scent. If you like heady, spicy, woody scents, gorgeous. I'm gonna put that on my lap. Number 2, now this is something I burnt on my 50th birthday dinner party. I had a dinner party in King's Cross. This one is Juniper. Now this isn't my favourite. Obviously it has special memories for me because I burnt it at my birthday party, but I love everything from Diptyque. These should be really from small independent candle producers, but I just don't enjoy a lot of those products as much as I do these. I feel bad for that. I do constantly buy things from independent candle producers, candle makers, but they never really throw as much scent for me. So if you've got any suggestions, pop them down below in the comments, because I do want to try and not buy so many of these if I can, as much as I love them. So Diptyque, my favourites would be Faux de Bois. I love Bay as well. If you're a candle fan and you know Diptyque, you'll know Faux de Bois. So gorgeous. I love anything from Diptyque. There's quite a few in my candle cupboard over there. And then last but by no means least, we have this from, which is called Bar from, now I always get this wrong, Amon. I think it's Amon. Scandinavian brand. You can tell it inspired what I wore today for the video with the flowers in the background as well. All about the summer pastels. It's been a heat wave here in London. This is something that I had for Christmas lockdown, and it smells like Christmas. The Christmas lockdown, the first one that we had, where I was in here in the flat on my own for 4 months. 4 months, yeah. It smells like pine trees. Very chic Scandinavian pine trees in a forest with something else in there that's kind of fresh but slightly sweet. So gorgeous. I will link all of these down below if you would like to read more about them. My top 3 candles. Scratches his head. Next up, it's back to me, and a question from the wonderful music producer that is Chris. Well, musician, music producer that is Chris. And that was, what are my goals for the next 10 years? It's such a great question. Quite a big question, but kind of related to what he says, kind of what I related to earlier on, to the question of how am I enjoying 50? I guess the next 10 years really are all about putting myself out there, continuing to put myself out there in ways that are maybe different for me. I have thought recently again about having my own salon. That's not a secret. It's just one of those things that has been on my mind. The world has changed a lot since I closed Number One. My salon was called Number One because it was Number One Silver Place in Soho. And the world's changed a lot. We didn't have social media then. It was the very, very beginning of social media as it is now. So I'm tempted to do that. There's something exciting that's coming up that I can't share with you, but I will share with you as soon as I can share it with you. But that's something to do with a brand. So that's going to hopefully help me get my education out there more, which I would love to do. Education, in-person education is still quite tricky, and the market is very saturated, certainly in this country, in the UK. But it's something that I love very much, so I definitely would like to do more in-person education. Personal goals, spend more time with my lovely dad, who is getting older, who I love very much. He is like totally my hero. I love my dad so much. So spend as much time as I can with him and his lovely partner. Hopefully see more of my brother, who doesn't live in London. He lives a long way away in the UK, but like 6.5 hours away. It's a lovely wife. They're such lovely people, but we just never get to see each other because we're very busy. I think that's kind of, I guess to continue to push forward, it's always important for me. And I think that one of the things as I've got older personally is that I do feel that there's a sense to push forward with speed. And that doesn't mean that I have to kind of gallop forward as quickly as possible and push people out of the way, but it is important for me that I do continually move forward. And friends of mine will say to me, oh, you're always doing this, or you're always making that, or take time off, or do that, blah, 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 blah. And I don't feel that I can, because there's still a lot of things that I would like to do, and there's still milestones really in my career, not so much in my personal life, because I'm very grateful that I have great friends. I have a very, very small family, but I love them very much. So, for me, it's about being professionally respected, and about being able to share what I have learned over the last 35 years with other people. And in order to do that, I have all these great platforms, and I have these associations, pop your teeth in, Craig, with brands. So I'm also very grateful for that. So that was quite a lot really for the next 10 years, wasn't it? But more than anything, to enjoy myself and to continue to enjoy the company of other people and this incredible industry. Next up is that question that you always want to be asked. And I was asked that question, and that is, what 3 things would I take to a desert island? Now, you think about the answers of these and you think, shall I go existential, and shall I really think about it for a long time and come up with something that's very deep and meaningful? And the answer to that for me in this video is no. So the first answer would be some kind of device. All my videos that I film for my channel here, they're all done on my phone, yes, and they're all edited on my phone as well. I can use software on a laptop, but I find it much easier on my phone. I just do. That's what I'm used to. So, but the reason I would take my phone is because music is so important to me. And I know if you're on a desert island, we are talking kind of hypothetically, you might not be able to plug it in to charge it, but music for me is life. There's a television just there, but you could take that away and I wouldn't miss it. But music, if you took music away from me in my life, it's so evocative, it's such a mood lifter for me. You often will find me dancing around my flat to music. So my phone is really important. Then also if I have my phone, I could look at pictures of my family and I could have memories and stuff. So my phone would be the first one. The second one would be SPF. Now, and that's not because it's like a beauty plug, but My skin is quite fair, but I do tan. But I tan with factor 50 SPF. Always. And I've always got factor 50 SPF on my face. And yeah, I'm quite freckly, you know, I have quite a lot of yellow in my eyes. So SPF factor 50, an endless supply. And then the third thing would be a food item, and that would be cheese. Because if I'm on a desert island, there might not be the animals in order that I could make cheese, but I do love cheese. I love all food. I've never been a fussy eater. I really, really love food, but one of my kind of comfort foods really would be cheese. Saturday nights, I often have a picky tea, and one of the things which is what I have lots of different things laid out on the countertop, and I help myself whilst I'm like mooching around my flat. And one of those things would always be cheese. So my three things: a phone, SPF, and cheese. I mean, not extremely deep, but there you go. Now you know. So we're back to hair with this. Now, I think perhaps the person that sent me this question, thank you very much if you're watching this, doesn't come here to my YouTube. Shock horror. But I do have videos on here that are exactly that answer this question, that compare, they don't compare, because I don't think you can compare K18 to any other product because it's truly unique. Olaplex and K18 are not the same, and they don't do the same thing. So what I'm going to say, and hopefully that person will see this video, is that I'm going to pop my K18 overview video up there. Obviously, if you go and check out my K18 overview video, please come back to watch the rest of this. And I will pop my other K18 videos. There's 2 Q&A videos that answer lots and lots of kind of, they bust myths, they answer lots of questions, and they've had really great feedback, and I know people find them really helpful when they're using K18. I will pop those down below. Question answered. Back to an industry question, and one from the gorgeous and wonderfully talented Elijah. Now, he asked, where's it going to pop up? Over there. He asked how I got to do the EMAs. So every year, for the last 8 years, I think it is, all bar when we couldn't travel, I work with a team that go and do the EMAs. Now that's the European Music Awards, the MTV European Music Awards. It's a huge event, live event that's televised, and I work with a team that do hair on the dancers and the artists. Now I work in artists. The first year I did it, I worked with the group that do the dancers. It is one of the most incredible things that I am incredibly grateful that I got to do. But Elijah asked how I got to do it. Well, it's kind of, there's two answers, 2 bits to the answer to this question. The first one is that as a client, I have a client who is the head of department for hair, and she came to me for a bleach out. She was recommended to me, I think she was on holiday, and she met somebody who was a client of mine, and she liked the bleach out on that client, and then she became a client of mine. She's a hairdresser herself. She's amazing, absolutely amazing. I love, if I ever get to assist her on anything, we work on TV shows as well. I absolutely love working with her because she's just wonderful. I just love being around her. So I love being around all of the team. You can see from the look on my face, it is joyful. It's quite stressful, but it is joyful. They are incredible people, very talented. So Pauline was a client, and she asked me if I wanted to come on the team, and I said yes. But the other part of the answer to that question is that I've always said yes to things. You know, when I was younger, I did Fashion Week. I didn't always enjoy that, to be honest. It wasn't always a nice experience. I felt quite exploited. I dipped my toe back into Fashion Week a little while ago, like 6 years ago, and felt exploited again, so I stopped doing it. But I learned an awful lot doing Fashion Week. You know, how to put a wig on, how to, you know, style hair in lots of different ways. All the kind of little bits and pieces that I could take and then use as my own when I was doing all of this special event work. So really, for me, it's about putting yourself out there, learning everything that you can learn. And if someone offers you the opportunity, I was grateful that the stars aligned and the head of department became my client. But when she offered me the opportunity, I said yes. Obviously, I was nervous, and And I remember we went to Milan the first year and it was really, really full on. And it was a long time since I'd experienced that kind of full onness. I remember we did something like 25 dances for Pharrell Williams. I ended up in a hotel room with Ruby Rose at like 11 o'clock at night, putting a toner on her hair. But I had the most amazing time and I'm so grateful to be part of the team. But it is about learning all you can and putting yourself out there and taking the opportunities when they arise. Penultimate question, and this is a kit one, and this is about some good starter shears that will last. Now, these are probably quite tricky for the camera to pick those up or focus on them, maybe. Now, these are from Joelle. All the scissors that I use are Joelle. There are scissors that are a lot more expensive, and there are scissors or shears. The question was shears. Obviously, in the UK, we call shears scissors. You can call them what you want. Both are totally valid. You can call them anything you want. It's all valid. I have seen on social media recently people saying that American people are weird because they call scissors shears. They're not weird. That's what they call them. Blimey, all this bashing on social media is really getting rather tedious. So these are Joelle's. Now these are about 34 years old. I don't use these anymore. I keep these at home. These are what I might trim my sideburns with, around my ears and stuff with if I'm not using little mini trimmers. These ones are tiny. I would use bigger scissors than this. These are 5s. I now use 5.5s or 6s, but these are 34 years old. I think a kind of starter basic pair of Joelle's is around £150, so that would be about $170. They're not super cheap, but they do last if these are 34 years old. And they're very simple, you know, there's not an awful lot to them. I don't really enjoy offset scissors. I have about 5 pairs of Joelle's. And I think I mentioned them in one of my earlier videos, so if I can find that video, I will link it down below. But for me, it's a shear that's not super expensive and that is going to last an awfully long time and be easy to use and to really become, you know, part of your hand, really, without sounding weird. So for me, it's Joelle's, and I will pop the link down below. Now, I am sitting here filming this now, and this is the last question. Phew. I've had so many great questions that I wanted to fit in a variety, but I suspect that this video might be quite long when I come to edit it. So if you've got to the end, if you're here with me now, thank you very much. I much appreciate that. So the final question is, have I always been this confident, and have I always had a kind of dance like nobody's watching attitude? No, I haven't. I mean, I did touch on this earlier on in the video. I spent a lot of my teens, 20s, and some of my 30s really, being very self-conscious, and definitely in my teens and my 20s, not having a lot of confidence. I've always been quite an outgoing person. You know, I've always been very chatty, very confident with people, which I'm very grateful for, but I haven't always felt very good about myself or had the confidence to put myself out there in lots of different ways. And again, it's something I've mentioned previously in this video, and that is that the more I have done that, then the easier it has become. I don't think there's any, you know, I'm always very careful about sharing kind of self-help for people because ultimately it's what's worked for me and is what has made me more confident. But I remember a time when I first started on Instagram and I used to do a live once a week, and I can remember vividly setting up the lights and not this tripod, another tripod, and sitting there booting up the Instagram live and being really nervous and finding it really quite hard. But the more I did it, I found it much easier. And now I have a YouTube channel that I really love and I really enjoy creating content for. So the answer to the question is no, I haven't always been as confident as I am now, but I'm very grateful that I'm confident. And I think the more you put yourself out there, and I know that I talk to lots of people throughout my social platforms that do want to do that, but find that they hold themselves back. And I know it's not easy for everybody. And I've got to a point where I don't hear myself, and I'm not really hypercritical when I'm editing and thinking, oh, I look a bit tired, or, you know, oh, I sound a bit annoying, or which sometimes I know that I do. So again, it comes down to caring less what others think about us. So confidence really can only really ever come from yourself. there we go. That's the end of your fantastic questions. There's, no. So it's outro time, and that really wasn't that tricky after all. You know, I'm not a super secretive person, but I am quite a private person, and I'm always conscious that I don't want to come across as show-offy or as really talking myself up or as somebody that's like super fame hungry, because I'm not. You know, my platform is here, and all my platforms are there to share what it is that I know with people, and so that you can take it and make it your own and have some lulls and a bit of fun along the way. Oh, I think it just clicked in very loudly. As always, if you leave a comment down below, I will always get back to you. It only seems fair that if you reach out to me, that I get back to you, and it's fun. That's what social media is all about, isn't it, at the end of the day? Thanks to everybody that gave me a question, and thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.